Welcome to Goalie Science, the podcast where we talk about goalies and science, presented by Resilient Hockey, your premier hockey rehabilitation services. I'm Ben Cernick, and I'm here with Jamie Phillips.
Hello, Ben. How are you doing this fine evening?
I'm good. The people were on my case about sitting too close to the webcam, and so I'm trying to...
Who's the people?
the people on the internet, Jamie. But the main culprit is, in fact, my fiance. So I got bullied. So now I sit far away. I'm holding the microphone in my hands. So if you're watching this instead of listening to this, I probably look preposterous that way too. But we're trying something new. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment. Feel free to roast me. I've accepted my life for what it is.
If you are watching on YouTube, I'm also trying a new angle where my background is not blurred or not a virtual screen of me in a laboratory.
Yeah, things are... For all you listeners, this is some high quality content right here, is us describing our backgrounds and our current sitting situation. But without further ado, Jamie, enough about our camera angles and our distance from the screen. What are we talking about today?
So I got a question from a parent, and it actually brought up a good point. And I had my first initial thoughts, but then as I thought about it deeper, I think there's definitely value in both situations. And so the question this was a parent of, I think it was a U11 goalie, and they said that he was upset with the head coaches on their team because the team was so struggling, and they would pull their U11 goalies if they were giving up a lot of goals. And so he basically used it to vent. And I just said, I said, I'm not sure. And I said, I'd talk to you about it and see what your thoughts, because right off the bat, I want to just say, no, that is dumb. And I think my answer is going to be no, that is dumb. But I do think that there is some value in being pulled, while also there's a lot of value in having to stick with it, because you just learn and you have adversity. And I think adversity is important for everybody, including young goalies. But Ben, I would like your thoughts on this.
Well, first things first, on your adversity comment, there's very much this belief that like trauma breeds talent. So you want to go down that dark rabbit hole, the whole like traumatize your young goalies.
Everything is trauma though. Yeah. But there is some literature in like sports psych where if you want to build mental resiliency, whatever that means, you do need to experience hardship.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge thing. We can go down into like psychological properties. We'll get some people on. Those people a lot, and a couple people in my world who do that kind of research. So maybe we'll get them on when we get there. But Jamie, to answer your question for today, I'm with you on like first instinct. First instinct, I don't think you should ever really pull a goalie. Let's say if they're not in high school, that's gonna be my cutoff point. And I only say that because truthfully, like if you're from Western Canada, then you're in grade 9, it is your WHL draft year. And unfortunately, that is important. So
grade 9.
Yeah. Soak that in. Bantam draft. Yep. Fun fact. Yeah. Carter Hart, 9th round pick. He was like 5'6" in grade 9. He turned out okay. But yeah, grade 9. So that's why I think anything before that, I'm pretty hard pressed, especially in minor hockey where you pay a lot of money to play minor hockey. I'm pretty hard pressed to imagine a situation where, as a parent, you've driven a very far distance. Your kid lets in 3 goals on 6 shots in the first 5 minutes, and then they're pulled. In the same vein, though, the other goalie's parents on the team also drove a far distance for their child to sit in the bench. So, is the solution that every goalie should split half and half, Jamie? Is that where this is going again?
Are we bringing this up again?
No.
I do. Well, I kinda, yeah, I think that is a good solution, but
let's stick to the question.
It's seeing the forest from the trees, it's understanding that these are kids.
Yep.
And these kids need just get shots against. And some of those shots are going to go in.
Yep.
And if you don't play in an organization that has like scaled nets to the size of your goalies, then because players are getting better and they're watching all these like TikToks with dangles and their shots are good, they're going to give up a lot of goals. Yeah. And just, it's, you know what? And if you're a parent, I mean, to be honest, goalie parents, I would assume, are the most of the ones that listen to this podcast. And, they're probably nodding their heads. But it's the non-goalie parents who need to, like, hear this and be like, if you're the goalie on your team gives up a lot of goals, just relax and stop yelling.
Yeah. But no, so this is important. So like, I think this is a really important thing to acknowledge is that if you play and you're involved in minor hockey long enough, you're most likely going to find yourself at one point being on a team that's a lot worse than the other team you're playing, right? Most often than not.
Yeah.
Now for some of you out there, you're right. You will play for the Toronto Marlboros from the time you're 9 until 16, and you'll never play on a bad team until maybe 16. So congratulations to you. But for most of us out there, most of us who don't have that experience, you're going to have a time where you're playing a team that's just a lot better. And you get scored in a whole bunch. And I think there's a lot of value in like learning how to lose a game 9-0 or something like that. Right? Like I think there's,
Yeah.
I remember growing up. So I remember growing up, I played for just an awful minor hockey team growing up for the first little while. And we would always go down to an early bird tournament like in September. And for whatever reason, and maybe if, the Syracuse minor hockey tournament organizers could reach out to me and let me know why every single year we were paired against the Syracuse Stars team every single year for like 3 years straight in that tournament. And we would lose like 9-0 every single time. I do have I'm not bitter about it, but if you could reach out. But I think there's a lot of value in that, right? Like I remember that team ended up having like 5 or 6 Division I players from like a minor hockey team, which is pretty good, right? But I think there was a lot of value in like the coaches just letting me kind of grind that out. They're like, hey, this is not going to be a very fun game, but you're gonna get some experiences, and you deserve to play through it, right? And we've talked about this before, Jamie, but you can let in an 8 or 9 goals and still have a good game, right? Like last week we talked about the type of goals you let in. If you let in 3 breakaways or 3 2-on-0s in the first 6 minutes, do you deserve to be pulled if you're 11 years old? Or is that a team problem?
Yeah, it's a team problem. But like you were saying, like I remember minor hockey. I can just distinctly remember the most goals I ever gave minor hockey was 8, and I was playing in Welland.
Are you trying to brag?
But I remember in college, I think I gave up 7 against Notre Dame, and I was in for all 7, and I didn't get pulled.
Yeah.
And that was horrible. It was horrible. It was a horrible game. Actually, I didn't play bad, but 7 goals still does not make you feel good, and have to get on an airplane after that, is crappy. But then I look back at that and I'm like, after that game, I don't think I ever gave up more than like 4 goals for the next 2.5 years. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And so was that the catalyst? I don't know, but I think there was value in me getting strung out. And 2 is like, TAC obviously lost horribly in the NCAA tournament 8-0. And we did give our goalie the option to, if he wanted to come out, and he wanted to grind through it.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like that prerogative, especially in college. Like if you have a guy who's your starter and like he wants to kick through it, just let him keep grinding.
Yeah, and I think it's funny, right? I don't think anyone, well, I was gonna say I don't think anyone ever wants to be pulled or leave a game, but I for sure have been the backup goalie in games where the starter pulled himself. So I guess maybe there's exceptions to the rule. But I think if we like really, and we're talking about young kids here, right? If you've listened to this podcast before, you've heard myself and Jamie talk about that. We think goalies could maybe just be rotating and sharing each game longer into minor hockey. Like that could be a solution, or that could be something that is better. But I think something, again, like the situation that just irks me is like, you're the goalie who hasn't played in 2 weeks because of a weird rotation thing, and then you get in your game, and then it's a bad start, and then you're just out of the game. And it's like, well, is the coach going to put you into the next game? Or they're like, well, no, it's the other goalie's turn in the rotation. And you know what I mean? It just starts getting messy, especially in minor hockey, where like the goal is development. And we talk about how, well, I should say the goal is fun. and then also development. So let's actually do that properly. It's fun and development, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't think pulling a goalie is ever fun. I don't think they ever feel happy or excited about that. The one exception, and I don't really know if I like this. I haven't been on a minor hockey bench ever, so grain of salt. This is just my
Either.
experience. Yeah, this is just my experience as a goalie myself. Um, but when you're little and you'll like pull the goalie to chat with them for a little bit, like maybe you just need a granola bar or some fruit gushers and a little juice box on the bench. Um, so maybe there's some worthwhile there. Maybe they just need to be talked down, right? I think like sometimes, especially if they make a mistake, like let's say 2 quick goals go in that aren't their fault. And it's like, okay, not
Mm-hmm.
great. And then a third one goes in that is kind of on them just because maybe they're a little frazzled about those 2 quick ones. Yeah, maybe pull them off and talk to them, right? See where they're at. Like, again, they're tiny humans, but they're still people. They still can process how they're feeling, even if it might take a little bit longer to dig into it. But that's the only thing I can really think about. The more I talk about this, the more we've gone this conversation, I'm further and further on that we probably shouldn't pull young goalies ever. Fence.
No, you know what? Then I think about it. You remember the old like you get pulled, put the other goalie in for a shift, and then pull that goalie and let you go back. Which actually happened to me in juniors, junior A.
hold on,
Actually
No,
crazy when I was
no. Tell
when I
the
was in
story.
Toronto.
Tell the story.
No, it definitely happened when I was playing in junior Canadians, where I got pulled, and then I sat there, and he's like, "You're going back in." And I was like, "No, no." I think I did, but actually, I don't know if I did. There actually might be. I actually might not have went in. I
You
don't
might have
know.
actually
I
just
can't remember.
entirely. Yeah. Can we talk about this? This is a complete tangent, but nothing. There was a game earlier in the NHL this year where starter got pulled in the first, and then in the third period they're just back in the net because the backup gave up 5 after. I can't remember what the game was, but that's a great situation. We should get more of that in professional hockey. The double pull. What are your thoughts on that? Are people not double pulling enough?
Yeah. I think honestly, for like little kids though, just take a timeout. Take a timeout and talk to the goalie and just be like, "Hey, it's okay. You're doing fine. The next shot's the one that matters. Let's go in there. You don't have to pull, come in. Just take a timeout.
I
Take
think
a
like
timeout.
so. Let me reframe this. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. But let me reframe this. In U11, are we benching forwards?
People do.
Yeah, but that's right, right.
We
Exactly.
have to like
No. But this is the same thing. No, this is the same thing. No. You're overthinking it,
it's
right?
so dumb.
If you
But
don't bench unless it's a discipline thing and ice time is
yes.
a unless it's a discipline thing, which we're pro advocates for safe sport. Don't punish your kids inappropriately. Playing time is a reasonable one to use, anyways. Like you should not be benching kids in any capacity, and I think pulling a goalie is in theory benching in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah, I would say they're very similar.
Yeah, I mean, like this is where it always comes down to, and this is where people are going to disagree. And I think where we always get the biggest disagreement is like, again, I said it 5 minutes ago that minor hockey, especially younger ages, is for fun and for development, right? The goal should be that you get better, your kids get better, and you have fun along the way. Um, Maybe make some lifetime memories. But I think we conflate that or think too hard about that with like win at all costs for, like U11 single A tournaments, where it's like, I don't know. I didn't win any tournaments really growing up. And I don't have any regrets about not winning any of those. Do you feel like you missed out on life by not winning a lot of tournaments when you were 11, Jamie? Were you a goalie when you were 11?
I was not a goalie when I was 11. I think the first tournament I won as a goalie was a Tim Hortons tournament, and then we did win the Silver Stick minor midget year when I was not a big deal. Um, yeah, and the
Hey, wait,
thing is
hold
too
on.
is like I was just gonna say there's a difference. Like U13 house league to double A is a lot different than U in the U13 triple A. At that point, your kids are like really good. So like the margin between like skill isn't there's gonna be like really good players, but even the ones that aren't that great still are probably they're better than everyone else.
They're
So like
serviceable. Like they're like your kids are
do you
doing
have
fine.
to bench them?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's a good point. The other point I was going to say is, Jamie, do you think maybe you won the silver stick because your team had 12 OHL draft picks on it? Do you think that might have influenced winning tournaments in minor midget for you?
Say that one more time. Sorry.
I said, I said, do you think that maybe you won all those tournaments in your U16 year because you had 12 OHL draft picks on your team? Do you think that maybe influenced all those wins?
No, it was because it was all me. Uh,
Uh,
I did
transitioning,
play well in
transitioning.
tournaments, but it did help to have current NHL superstar Dougie Hamilton and
About to say.
11 other OHL draft picks on the. But to be fair, we were playing against other teams that also had 11 plus OHL draft picks.
Jamie, it's a good point. But the point that you're also forgetting is who opened the door for Dougie Hamilton when you clinched your OHL Cup bid in U16, and that answer is me. I was there on that bench. People forget that all the time.
I forgot that.
Yeah, not a big deal. I did clinch an OHL Cup as a call-up. Jamie won 7-2 that game. He also pouted when he got scored on. So, goalies out there know that former pro and current podcast host Jamie Phillips also got sad when he lets in goals. But he didn't get pulled in that game, thankfully, because if I went in, we probably would have lost. But to circle back on this, right? We shouldn't be benching kids in general, and goalies are a part of the team too. As much as coaches sometimes forget that goalies are an equal part of the team and need to have practice focused around them too.
No, that's asking a lot.
Did I go too far?
We're asking way too much of hockey.
Um, but yeah, so I think, and I don't know when there is, but yeah, I think there comes a time, and probably in minor hockey, it is probably 14 or 15, where, yeah, you know what? Maybe if you really need to win the game, maybe if it's a game that is important and your goalie lets in 3 quick early in the game, yeah, maybe you just change it up. Maybe it's even not the goalie's fault, but maybe your team just needs a spark. But that's again, like we talk about trying to keep minor hockey as even as possible for as long as possible. And so, like, yeah, maybe again, let's say just for people not in high school, maybe don't, right? Maybe reconsider why you think you want to do that. And maybe your intentions are good, right? Maybe people's intentions about benching players is good or not playing players is good. But I think we have to like just take one step back and say that out loud, right? I am not playing a 12-year-old or a group of 12-year-olds because this Tuesday night game in a community center, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think like if you're a young goalie listening, or if you're a parent of a young goalie, there is value in the struggle. And it sounds negative, but there is value in the struggle, and you learn a lot about yourself and your brain and how you handle these situations. And that will help you in other situations that are not as stressful or as taxing. Or if you give up 2 goals early, you have to learn how to, manage your thoughts and to like just control your brain from a young age. And it's not as, who knows what goes on in the mind of a 11-year-old. It's probably just like cupcakes and rainbows. But it is important, and you don't have to feel like you need to pull yourself because that's what they do in the NHL, because you're not in the NHL. Actually, fun story. I worked a hockey camp, and this was not a goalie camp. This was just like a hockey camp, and it was a 3-on-3 full ice, kind of like the game part.
Yep.
And one of my goalies, I was the quote unquote coach. I just stood there and opened the door, and the goalie tried to pull himself in a 3-on-3 hockey camp. And I told him, I said, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm pulling myself." I said, "This is a summer camp. Go back in the net."
Yeah, that's an amazing story, Jimmy. That actually inspired me a little bit. I want to know, and I was thinking about this. What is the best, worst game you've ever been a part of? And what I mean by that is a situation, a game where you were you just chugged through it, your team lost, or well, I guess you could win, but like you just got kind of peppered by goals a little bit, and you still kind of, you had to persevere through it, and you're still fine with it, right? Like you thought it was better. You already gave the story about being at Notre Dame and getting peppered, but I didn't know if you had anything else where you were like, yeah, I could have been pulled in this one, but I wasn't, and I jammed through it a little bit, and we were better for it. Do you have one?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I have one the opposite. Well, I'll get to, but I did give up a goal from behind the other team's goal line
Oh,
in Alabama, Huntsville,
well,
and that is not good. And that was like the second goal of the game. That means we were down 2-1, and the next two shots were breakaways, and I made those saves,
nice.
and we ended up winning the game. And so, yes, was that goal all over ESPN and the NCAA and the internet? Yes, it was. Was it horribly embarrassing? Yes, but did we win the game? Did I manage to battle back and make those two breakaway saves that would have kept the game from being 4-1? Yeah, and that's important. But then on the other side too is like, I think when you were saying, I was trying to think of examples, but I remember once we were in Alaska and we won 10-0. I think I had 40 something shots.
Wow.
Like it was one of those games where it should have been like a 10-9 game, but
Real
I just
fast.
play so crazy, but no one cares because we scored 10. So they're probably like, oh, it's just a quiet night. No, I stood on my absolute head that game, but no one cared.
If anyone out there has that footage, just can we overlay Jamie complaining about this to those highlights?
The Alaska highlights?
Yeah, like I want
Against Alabama.
well, both. We'll just overlay all of it. We'll hire the editor.
I'm sure
Jamie
that he
Phillips
went on
Academy.
the 2014 or 15 WCHA highlights. It's probably there.
Probably. Jamie, I have an opposite story, although I did also let in a goal from behind the team's goal line once too, because I thought it was icing. And so I was just going to play with the puck behind the net like a bored 20-year-old does in junior hockey sometimes, and I basically kicked it in my own net, more or less. But that's okay. Moving on. My best kind of story around this one is I was playing the state championship game my last year of whatever, that I was eligible to play in the state championship. So U19, I guess it is technically in the States. Yeah, this is like this is in for those who don't know, when you play when you play prep school in New England, you play for like a fall team. So you play for two different teams. So I was playing for the old Greater Boston Junior Bruins, really good organization. I can only say many thanks to all the people involved there. But we were playing the state finals. Winner goes to nationals. And we're playing against a team that we had played like 8 times that year, and I think we were 0-8 against them. So odds were stacked against us. And
Underdog. Everyone loves an underdog story.
And guess what? They scored 4 in the first.
Oh God.
Those like, and again, I think a lot of goalies our age and younger can think about this, but you know how there's just like games where you can remember the exact details of every single goal that went in? Like,
which is, you know what? Now, I'll be honest, now the clips are kind of fading, but when I played, I could remember every goal and I gave against basically my entire college and pro career. Every single game and goal.
I say the same thing. I still think I can remember most goals from like the last 3 or 4 years when I was playing. But I have this very vivid memory of it was like power play, slap shot, rebound, goal. Power play, backdoor goal. Like it was just, you know what I mean? Just like one of those games where you're fighting for your life and it's just like they're converting on everything. And then I remember there's like 10 seconds left in the first period. We're down 3-0. And I'm like, all right, like at least this period's over. We'll regroup in the intermission kind of thing. Guy takes a shot, absolutely crushes my defenseman in the knee, flies out to someone else randomly, just backdoor one-timer goal. So like I'm just expecting this nice, easy shot to end the period, explodes my defenseman's knee, backdoor, and we're down 4-0. And the reason I tell this story, so we're down 4-0 after the first, and the final score is 4-0 in the game. Oh, I lied. Yeah, I think maybe it was 4-1 or 4-2. We might have come back a little bit. But like I'm still to this day, like really thankful that coach let me play out that game. You know what I mean? Like I let him 4 in the first. Like a lot of coaches would call that pretty quick on a goalie, especially in a state championship, no matter like what the quality of the goals were. Like all right, we need to change things up. But the coaches were like, no, we're big believers in you, earning your time and deserving to play and making the most of the opportunities that you get playing hockey in this life. And think that has still a profound impact on how I view it, whether it's, for young goalies or older goalies. Like, there's so few opportunities when you look at the grand scheme of things to be able to play and be able to enjoy it and learn and get better, that let people play through it, right?
Yeah.
So like,
Hey, well, you know what? They should let me play through it, that game in Brampton, when you and all my family drove to watch me play 30 minutes.
So this is the best way to end this episode, talking about pulling goalies unnecessarily. Jamie's been playing pro hockey for what, 4 years at this point?
No, I'll give it. This is my third year pro.
Okay,
I was, reluctantly, my rights were moved from Florida. My East Coast rights were moved from Florida to Reading because Carolina and Charlotte just had 27 goalies on the roster, and they just kept signing them. Didn't really sign, just kept signing them. And so I had to fly from Florida to Brampton to play 2 games, just to fly back to Florida to pack my apartment and drive to Pennsylvania. So I flew to Brampton, close to home. Everyone's coming. I didn't know which game I was going to get. So the funny thing is that the reason I started that first game was because the assistant coach, I played a game of rebound and I was like lights out, and he's like, this guy's dialed. So that's why I started that first game. And so I started the first game. Ben is there. Ben's parents are there. Ben's now fiance is there. Never met her. My parents are there. My Boujan, my goalie coach, is there.
Bunch of guys we grew up skating with.
Bunch of guys. Oh yeah, bunch of guys we grew up with, like, and the whole nine. Like, everyone's coming to see me.
There's probably 15 people there for you.
Yeah, get 3 minutes. I think it lasts 3 minutes.
Nothing. It was 2 goals. You left 2 goals.
It was just like shots that would hit our own defenseman and then bounced off of, like, right onto their stick. I remember I made a blocker save.
Yep, off
hit our own defenseman's chest, and it just, like, it was in the net. Like, and then I just got pulled, and then I had to sit there in shame and then see everybody after the game, like, hey, thanks for coming. Do you want me to reimburse your ticket price? Like, I'll give you gas money.
The part that, even in that story, and so, like, the thing I remember most about that game is you were in the game for 4 or 5 shots. Like, I think it was just 2 goals. Like, it was just a ridiculous thing to pull someone off of 2 goals. But I think you made more saves in that 5 minutes you played than passes were made tape to tape in that game. I remember watching that and being like, okay, this is not the game anyone wants to be a part of.
Welcome to Cheese Toast Hockey League, man.
Yeah, I don't think that's...
The funny thing is, we did come back and win that game, so it wasn't even a loss on my part. But I did the win. It was just like
it was a 4-minute performance. It was a goals against average of about 40. But yeah, like, I would have loved to see you play that game out, actually, instead of being pulled. And again, maybe your team doesn't win, but we talked about the situation being at that level. I don't think that coach is like, that's your fault. I think the coach is like, all right, we're doing the first 3 minutes of this game. Like,
yeah,
right.
And that is true too. We didn't even talk about that part where coaches will be like, we're trying to shake up the team. And again, there is value in that too, but not
sometimes
with children.
No, yes. Okay, and that's why I didn't bring it up. We don't need to talk about it. Yes, that is an absolute spark plug. Can be for your junior team, for your college team, for your pro team. For your 11-year-olds, you don't need the goalie switch catalyst to send a message to the team. They're 10. I like your take the time out. Like, if we can really summarize this down, and we're going to wrap this up here. If I can really summarize what I think is productive from this conversation, aside from a couple really good stories about what it's like being Jamie Phillips playing hockey, is that just for younger kids, yeah, there's value in letting them play. If you think you need to shake something up and you think the goalie's not in it, or you think the team's not in it and it's reflecting onto the goalie, take a timeout, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, take the time out, especially in games. Like, again, like, games are what, like 10-minute first, second, and then a 50-minute third. Like, it's a 40-minute game, right? Like, there's so little time to play in the game anyway that, like, at least let them play it out, right? So to answer the original question, should we be pulling goalies, especially younger goalies in this situation, like under U13? I think, Jamie, we both fall in the no camp.
Yeah, I'm going to go in the no camp as well. Just take a timeout. Take a
Take
timeout.
time.
Tell your kid's gonna be okay.
Yep.
And if he isn't, as I know someone's probably punching their steering wheel and be like, "This is too soft," but it's I don't care. I don't care if it's too soft. They're kids, man, and they're just trying to get better at hockey. They're just trying to get better at hockey.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I want, and maybe Jamie, maybe we'll have to say this for another time, but maybe it's because of, you played professional hockey. I took a couple tries in university. So maybe it's just like looking in hindsight and realizing how much that minor hockey stuff doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. And maybe that's just the influence that we come from. Like, we look back and want to think fondly of minor hockey,
Mm.
and think about all the positive stuff it can bring, because too many people are out of hockey faster than you ever think, right? Think about all the guys you played with who quit after 15 or whatever. Right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I always forget about how many people stop playing like kind of after that, like minor midget year.
Yeah, tons. I lost half the guys I played minor midget or U16 with. Half the guys I played with that season quit hockey after it. And I think about that a lot, honestly.
Yeah, that's crazy. It shouldn't be like that.
Right. And so I think part of the reason is that we take it too serious too early. Right. And I think if you're worried about being soft and worried about that, we're not going to develop the best players anymore. They're going to be fine. The best ones are totally fine. They are going to be the best still, if you're nicer to them or give them more chances. Right? Like, those are the ones we don't.
Yeah, and
we don't need to worry about them.
Be the
Yeah,
best, yeah.
they're fine.
We can just maybe push forward a few kids that needed some more positive reinforcement on the way.
Yeah, give kids a chance. Let them grind through stuff. And like you said, you know what? Honestly, maybe I'm the goalie I was because I let in 10 goals and didn't get pulled a few times in my life. So
that's true.
You never know. All right, let's call it there. Everyone, thank you so much for listening as always. If you're listening on a podcasting app, you can give us a rating. Tell your friends, pass this on to organizations so coaches at U11 single A don't pull their goalies next season. Jamie, any final closing thoughts?
I just have to laugh at that. Just thanks for listening. Yeah, keep liking and sharing. Ben and I were talking about the possibility of maybe getting a sponsorship one day so that Ben can get an apparatus to hold his microphone so he doesn't have to hold it by hand. But so you can only do that if you like and give us 5 stars or just say some nice things. So yeah,
in conclusion, let your goalies play, let your kids play, be good coaches, be good parents, be good fans, support everyone. We'll all get through it together.
Agreed.
Until next time.